Yeah, in light of those terror attacks in Paris, the Home Secretary Theresa May has claimed that anti-Semitism has made the Jewish community scared to stay in Britain.
Yeah, speaking at a ceremony to honour the Jewish victims of last week's attack in Paris, she said at the weekend that the government would be increasing its efforts to deal with hate crimes.
I never thought I would see the day when members of the Jewish community in the United Kingdom would say that they were fearful of remaining here in the United Kingdom. And that means that we must all redouble our efforts to wipe out anti-Semitism here in the United Kingdom.
Well, joining us now is Jonathan Sacerdoti from the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
The Paris attacks have certainly raised the profile of the sense of fear that there seems to be within Jewish communities that you speak to all the time. What is the mood?
Well, 45% of British Jews who we surveyed in one of the biggest ever surveys of British Jewish opinion said, for example, that they were scared for them or their families of Islamic extremism in Great Britain. So it is important what we're hearing the government doing, and we were reassured to see Eric Pickles sending this letter, and also to hear the words of Theresa May yesterday saying that the government is going to take very seriously policing around synagogues and Jewish places so that people can feel more secure and more safe in Britain.
Is it as a result of Islamic extremism that you feel nervous, or is it a broader problem? Is it a particular section that you feel frightened of?
Well, the real threat to actual safety does, as we can see in France, come often from that quarter. Just this attack in Paris is a good example, but if we look back not that far into recent months and years, we can see in Toulouse when Jewish children were gunned down in a Jewish school simply for being Jewish. Then we look over in Brussels and we see that Jews were killed in the Jewish Museum just for being Jewish. And it's known that Jews are a target for fundamentalist Islamic terrorism.
It seems such a shame, doesn't it? Because we've just heard from our Imam who's worried about the fact that, there's a focus on the general Muslim community, and then he's worried about that, that might increase the risk of attacks to that community. You're talking about the Jewish community being nervous. It's a terrible shame that in the wake of these attacks, there isn't more sense of unity.
Yes, well, of course, there aren't that many terrorist attacks on the Muslim community, but there have been over time in memoriam, and in most countries and territories, many attacks on Jewish people. In most of the history of the Jewish people, they've been attacked and expelled from most places they've lived in, and that's really what Theresa May was signalling yesterday, that the government is taking that seriously. And it's great to hear people who are representatives of the Muslim community saying they are taking it seriously, saying that they do want to weed out that sort of extremism, because we all know that, in fact, there are mosques where extremist preachers have been reported to have spoken, and where this sort of thing has been happening, and people have been adopting some sort of fundamentalist ideas. We know that there have been British-born jihadis who've gone to train in the Middle East, and we know that they're coming back here. This is something we hear about all the time in the news, and we know that those killers in Paris were actually meant to have been trained in the Middle East as well. So this is a very real problem. Jews aren't running scared from it. We're very safe and secure. We have our buildings safely secured. We've always had high security already, but it's a shame that we need that in this day and age in Great Britain.
OK, Jonathan Sacerdoti, thanks for joining us this morning.